Are we good? Are we uninterrupted? Oh, let me mute this. With this. Okay. I'm gonna go. No, because that's gonna echo. I need somebody in here so I can test. Okay. That should do it. Okay. But I don't want you guys to be able to hear this echo. Ooh, let me try to play something, see if you guys can hear it. Oh, there's people in here now. Great. So I can try to get this audio together, child. I am struggle streaming. I thought, see, I had tried earlier. I did like a little bit of testing. I was like, okay, I think I got all the kinks worked out, but obviously I don't see. But now we got a bunch of echo going on. Turn that off, please. Thank you. But yeah, I was trying. I tested earlier. I was like, okay, I think I worked all the little kinks and like all the little bugs out. Yeah, I still struggle streaming, but it's okay. We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna figure it out. I just have like a couple of things I wanted to be able to do, and I don't want there to be like an echo. So if you're in the chat, can you tell me if you guys hear an echo? I thought there's an echo going on, and it's hard for me to be able to tell on my own. I was trying to use the video from my phone camera because it's much better than my webcam, and now I'm frozen. Okay. Okay. We're gonna go with it. And we'll see what happens throughout the stream. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it because we have been struggle streaming for the past like 10 minutes now. Happy Friday. You guys could not hear me earlier, so I do have a little glass of wine with me. It's Friday. You can let your hair down a little bit. If you want to join in with me in the drinking, go for it. If you don't have any wine or anything to drink, get you some water. Stay hydrated, okay? So I'm gonna turn this audio down. What if I just echo? Okay. So, you guys see the title. You guys know what we're going to discuss tonight. So, I am dying to get into the debate from 2 nights ago now. The presidential primary debate with the GOP. We had lost a couple people from the previous debate, so it was 5 people. We had I'm gonna go in order of like who's polling. So we have Ron DeSantis, we have Nikki Haley. Um, Ron is the governor of Florida. Nikki Haley is a former U.S. ambassador or UN ambassador. Vivek Ramaswamy, who is a very accomplished entrepreneur. We have Senator Tim Scott. He is a senator of North Carolina, South Carolina. And then we have Chris Christie, who is the governor of New Jersey. So those were our candidates from last night. Or from 2 nights ago. And I will say, like, I think that this was the best debate so far of the 3 debates that we've had. I think that's mostly because we were able to kind of focus on fewer candidates. It wasn't so many people on stage. And so we were really able to, like, dive in and really, get into certain topics and really have a full discussion. I will say there wasn't really a whole lot of, like, debating going on. It was just more of like a conversation. And I was really skeptical about the moderators because they are from NBC and which is liberal mainstream media, and we'll get into questioning the judgment call on that one. But I think overall that they did fairly good. I would have liked to have seen us not spend so much time on foreign policy, and like I think we spent like almost like the whole first hour of the debate on foreign policy and talking about other countries and how, as president, would you help this country? How would you help that country? And what would we do for this country? And it's just like it took us like, I swear it was like the whole first hour was just that, and which is fine. Like there are important questions to be had. I just wish that, and I think maybe a more conservative moderator would have done this, would have kind of sprinkled those more throughout the debate and not just focus really heavily on that for like the whole first hour, because a lot of conservative voters, were more concerned with American policy and getting our stuff together that we have going on over here. Like we have a lot of issues going on at home, and a lot of concerns from the people back at home, and we really just would like to spend some time focused more on that. So but I think overall it was a good debate. It was a good conversation. I think everyone did fine. I think Vivek absolutely crushed, absolutely annihilated. He annihilated the rest of the panel. He annihilated the RNC. He annihilated the media. It was just a massacre. It was a bloodbath. Thanks to Vivek Ramaswamy 2 nights ago. It was just chef's kiss, like incredible. I don't think I have ever seen anything like that in politics, in debating, like ever, from not from like a presidential candidate, anything of that nature. Even I think Donald Trump certainly had his moments when he was debating back in 2016, but I've never seen anything like what we saw from Vivek Ramaswamy that night. It was just absolutely incredible, and I think it's just really refreshing to see someone who is running for such high office, like just not be afraid to say what he believes and really stand on what it is that he believes. And I think that out of all of the candidates, I think that he has been the most consistent with his uh, concerns, with his prescriptions for those concerns, and offering solutions. I think he's been very, very consistent, and I think that he has been very, very like he's gone into a lot of detail about his policy and like what he would do. I think more than any other candidate I think that I've ever even seen. Period. Like from this election to the last election, I don't think I've ever seen a candidate just be so open, like so transparent. He does a lot of podcast style interviews. He's not afraid of like doing like those long form discussions, those long form debates where you can really like lay out his plan and what he wants to do. And I think no one else is doing it like he's doing it. He is just really just going to town. He's not afraid to talk to people, even people who may disagree with him, or he'll go on to, a more left leaning platform, whatever the case is. He's not afraid to go anywhere and speak to anybody and share his views and share his thoughts. And I really, really do commend him. I have a lot of respect for Vivek. And there may be a few things that I disagree with him on. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I'm sure that there are a few things that I disagree with him on. But I really, really appreciate his level of conviction. And I really do appreciate that he is just not afraid to say what he believes in. I think what helps him with that is that because he is very, very successful, he's a very, very successful entrepreneur. I've seen like reports like his net worth is like around $800 million because he's started up biotech companies and things of that nature. He's developed medicines that are FDA approved, all that good stuff. So I love that he doesn't need he can say what he wants to say because he doesn't need donors. He doesn't need the RNC's money. Like he doesn't need anyone's money to fund his campaign. He is doing it on his own, and I think that level of freedom is just really refreshing to see from a candidate. And when he's on stage, it just really makes the other candidates look like they're just robots. Like it makes them look like they're just robots, and like they just don't really have a whole lot of free thought to them. I like Ron DeSantis. I think Ron DeSantis is a great governor. I don't really have many complaints with him as far as being governor. I think he does a really great job, but I think that the way he has fallen flat in his campaign, I think the way that he's fallen flat, it really does have people questioning like, oh, is this really the great leader that we think he is? Or did he just have, he's got a Republican House and a Republican Senate in Florida, so he can just pretty much do whatever he wants to do without much pushback. So it's like, is it that, or like, is he really a great leader? Because a great leader, his campaign has really, really just flopped. And, he had a huge head start in the primaries, when things first kicked off. He had a huge lead on the other candidates, Nikki Haley, Vivek, all the other candidates, Tim, Scott, Krispy Kreme. But he has really just flopped and really tanked. And now Nikki Haley is like coming up close, like neck and neck with him. And it's just really confusing. It's just like, how is, how did you let that happen? Like, how did your campaign, flop so tremendously? And then when he's on the debate stage, it's just, his answers are great. He has great answers. Like, there's nothing wrong with like what he's saying or his, what he would do as president. Like, there's nothing really wrong with it. It's just like, I don't know. I think one thing that you need, and maybe it's, you really shouldn't need this, but you do in a sense, because you have to be able to, as a good leader, be able to motivate people and get people to rally behind you and rally behind your message. And I think Ron just doesn't really have that charisma, like that it factor to really bring people together and really rally people around him, you know? And with Nikki Haley, I think she is a great classical Republican. I think I heard like Pat Walsh has said, like, you know, she would be a great Republican candidate, you know, in the year 2004. Like she's a great candidate for like the year 2004. Like that's really the best way to put it. Like she is just a classical Republican. She, you know, loves war. You know, she performs very well on a debate stage, though. She does perform very, very well. She's doing really, really good in the polls for whatever reason. I can't quite wrap my brain around why she's doing so well in the polls, but she is. And yeah, I don't really understand it. But I guess she appeals to a lot of the base, or a lot of the Republican Party that's outside of Trump people. Even though Trump is dominant, and of course Donald Trump, I mean, he doesn't have to show up for the debates, not this early, because he's just so far ahead. Like it would really be a waste of time for him to show up to the debates, because it's just no point. Like, why risk hurting yourself when you don't have to? You know, it's just like, I'm sure he'll show up at some point, maybe, I don't know. He might not ever show up to a debate. Like, why? He's so far ahead. So that's Nikki Haley. Tim Scott and Krispy Kreme. I like Tim Scott. I do. I think he's a good guy. I think he, you know, I don't have any issue with him. I just feel like I'm being preached at when he talks. It's just, he did not need to be on that stage that 2 nights ago. Neither did Krispy Kreme. Both of them are pretty much irrelevant at this point in the race. Like, no one really cares what they have to say. It's just irrelevant. So they did fine. Krispy Kreme, he did kind of dial it back on the jokes and stuff. I think he was trying to appear a little bit more presidential, but no one cares. No one cares. He just drop out. Krispy Kreme can drop out. Tim Scott can drop out. It's done. It's not gonna happen for them. But they did fine. So I want to attempt to play a video if I can. We're gonna see how it works. I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear the sound, just because you couldn't hear the sound when I was talking on my computer. So we're gonna go to the debate. I do want to play a couple clips just for you guys. If we can't play the clips, then we'll just move on. Like, that's fine. So are you going to play some sound for me?
Tonight, a critical test in the race for the White House. 5 Republicans battling to become their party's 2024 presidential nominee. The candidates ready to make their case on why they're prepared to be commander-in-chief amid 2 wars on the world stage, how they plan to tackle stubborn inflation, and how they can see nightly news.
Good evening. I'm Kristen Welker, moderator of NBC's Meet the Press.
Hello, I'm Hugh Hewitt, host.
So we're first going to cover Vivek's opening, his opening remark, his opening answer, because when I tell y'all, I was literally, my jaw was on the floor. I was cracking up. I was just not prepared for it. Like, I was not prepared for this. Like, what? Oh my God. This was just, I had never, Vivek came out the gate just like came out swinging. I was not prepared, and I need to sit before we watch this, because this is just incredible. So we're gonna hear the question, And I think I'm gonna let it play through DeSantis and Nikki Haley's response, just so you can just hear the difference. Like, we were just prepared for your usual debate, and Vivek, the first debate, Vivek did come out swinging pretty hard. The second debate, he kind of toned it down a little bit, and the third, yeah, he dropped the bomb. So I do want to play the question. I want to play DeSantis and Haley's response first, because they did go first before him, and then we're gonna get into Vivek's, so you can just see that he is just in a lane of his own.
Host of Salem Radio's The Hugh Hewitt Show. We are now just 68 days from the Iowa caucuses, when Republican primary voters will begin to determine their party's nominee for president. Tonight, we'll question 5 candidates seeking that nomination on how they're best prepared to be commander-in-chief. And, of course, how best to bring down prices impacting Americans across the country. We have 2 hours for a serious debate on the issues that matter most to Republican voters. Candidates will have 1 minute and 30 seconds for answers and the opportunity for a closing statement. Follow-ups will be at the discretion of all of us at the table, the moderators. Invoking a candidate's name or policy does not necessarily mean the mentioned candidate is entitled to a response. We want to caution all the candidates not to interrupt or speak over your fellow debaters. If you talk over each other, the voters can't hear you. And given the critical issues we're facing specifically on the world stage, we want everyone to hear every word you have to say. Continued interruptions may result in loss of additional questions. And to our audience, please hold your applause so that the candidates can be heard. With that said, let's have a good debate. All right, our first question, the opening question, is one for all of you. Donald Trump is the first ex-president in more than 100 years to run for the White House again, and he remains popular among Republican primary voters as his legal challenges mount. Governor DeSantis, let me begin with you on this one. Speak to Republican voters who are supporting Donald Trump. Why should you and not him be the Republican nominee to face Joe Biden a year from now?
This country is in trouble, and the elites that have put us here, they don't care about you. They don't care that you're having to grapple with higher grocery prices or have higher gas prices. They don't care that your family's less secure because of the open border that's allowed drugs and even terrorists to come into this country. Well, I care. I am not going to sit idly by and let this country continue its downward spiral. We need leadership, and we need it now. I'll take the hits. I'll take the arrows. I'll take the slings, because ultimately it's not about me. It's about you. I will fight for you. I will make sure to lead this country's revival, and I will win for you and your family. Actions speak louder than words. We don't have time for excuses, and it's not something that we're going to be able to have all these distractions. As a veteran, I will get the job done. Now, if you look where we are now, it's a lot different than where we were in 2016. And Donald Trump's a lot different guy than he was in 2016. He owes it to you to be on this stage and explain why he should get another chance. He should explain why he didn't have Mexico pay for the border wall. He should explain why he racked up so much debt. He should explain why he didn't drain the swamp. And he said Republicans were going to get tired of winning. Well, we saw last night, I'm sick of Republicans losing. In Florida, I showed how it's done. 1 year ago here, we want a historic victory, including a massive landslide right here in Miami-Dade County. That's how we have to do it. So I promise you this, as the nominee, next November, I'll get the job done. And as president, I will deliver.
Your time is up. Let me turn to Ambassador Haley. Audience, let me turn to Ambassador Haley. Why you and not the former president?
So that was fine. That was a great response, great answer. One thing I do like about Ron DeSantis is that he, relies on his strength, which is the fact that he is currently a governor. He is serving in an executive role, and that he does have a lot of accomplishments under his belt, and he can really pull from those to say, like, other people can talk about what they're going to do. You can look at my record, you can see what I've done, and you can see what I've done, and that is what is what you need in a president, someone who can actually get things done. But what I think is a potential downfall for DeSantis is that he does have a Republican majority House and Senate in his state, and so he's never really had to fight opposition to come to a common ground or to compromise to get something done. He can pretty much just do what he wants to do without much pushback. And so like that's fine for Florida, but it's just like when you get to, the federal level, it's not likely that you're going to have a Republican House and Republican Senate. And so your agenda is not going to be able to just get pushed through without, any type of pushback. So you're going to have to be able to find ways to tone down some of your policies and really be able to find that compromise. And I think that may be where he falls short because we have not seen any evidence of him having to do that so far. But let's get into Nikki Haley's response. Good from the good start from DeSantis, very strong.
President.
Well, I think you look at the fact that we're almost $34 trillion in debt. 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. 50% of American families can't afford diapers. 1 in 6 American families can't pay their utility bills. You have parents who are worried about what's being said or taught to their child in the classroom. There's no transparency. We have anti-Semitism all over our college campuses, and students feel unsafe. You've got an open border where terrorists can come through, and we've got wars happening all over us, and there are dangers around us. Everybody wants to talk about President Trump. Well, I can talk about President Trump. I can tell you that I think he was the right president at the right time. I don't think he's the right president now. I think that he put us $8 trillion in debt, and our kids are never going to forgive us for that. I think the fact that he used to be right on Ukraine and foreign issues, now he's getting weak in the knees and trying to be friendly again. I think that we've got to go back to the fact that we can't live in the past. We can't live in other headlines. We've got to start focusing on what's going to make America strong and proud. And that's what I'm focused on doing. Let's make sure we pay down our debt. I think we need an accountant in the White House. Let's make sure that we have transparency in the classroom. As a mom, I know what that means. Let's make sure we secure our borders so that our families are safe. Let's get crime down because our families want to know that they can be safe no matter where they go. And as the wife of a combat veteran, I will tell you, a military needs to know we have our back, and we need to make sure that America is strong.
Ambassador, thank you very much.
All right, Nikki Haley. Fine. I have no issue with what she said necessarily. I do think that in the Republican Party there is a bit of unique circumstance because I think this is the first time I believe in over 100 years where a president is running for office again that didn't run consecutively. So it's an interesting place to be in because as a candidate, and with the way that Trump is just dominating the field, obviously Republicans overall are speaking loudly that they want Trump as their nominee. They don't want another candidate for the nominee. So as another person in the field who was running, you really had to kind of make a tough decision where it's do I want to attack Trump or do I want to, kind of keep it really respectful because I don't want to alienate his base away from me because I want to appeal to his base. I don't want to upset them. And so I think, Ron DeSantis has done it. Nikki, all the candidates really except for Vivek have gone after Trump and have, been critical of him. And, that may or may not work to their benefit. Time will tell with that. But what it looks like so far is that Trump's going to be the nominee. And so, if I guess if you're just, going to give it all you got, and if you don't make it, then okay. But I think that I like that Vivek has kept it really respectful towards Trump. He's had his criticisms for sure, but he's done it in a very respectful way. And he's given his honest criticism, but done it very respectfully. So he's not trying to alienate the base. I think he shared a lot of ideals with the base of Trump. So, that's my take on that. So we've heard Ron DeSantis, we've heard Nikki Haley. Let's get into Vivek's answer. This is the first question that's asked of the night. Okay, keep that in mind. This is the very first question that it's asked. So let's get back into it.
Let me just caution the audience. let's not go down this road. We've asked you to please, keep restrain yourselves, and would be helpful so we can hear the candidates, because these are important issues and the voters want and need to hear them. Mr. Ramaswamy, let me turn to you. Please make your case. Why should you be the nominee and not the former president?
I think there's something deeper going on in the Republican Party here, and I am upset about what happened last night. We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer to the Republican establishment. Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. You think the Democrats, I mean, we've got Kristen Welker here. Do you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, I mean, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real, or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? Answer the question. Go.
Mr. Roberts.
This is how we get our country back. We need accountability because this media rigged the 2016 election. They rigged the 2020 election with the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
and they're going to rig this election.
Your time is up.
Accountability.
Let me turn to Governor Christie. Why you? Audience, let's not do this.
Oh, mine was just blown out the gate. Like, I wished I could have been around when I was watching that live. I was literally blown away. I was just like, what? What? This man came for the RNC chairwoman, Ronna, I forget her last name, Ronna something. And he was absolutely correct. Republicans tend to have this like fake sense of morality, like, oh, like we are the more moral ones, like we're the more just ones, like we would never stoop to the level of the left. And it's just like, okay, that's great. Have your morals, have all of those things, but we're losing. Like we're losing. So it's like, do you want to hold, like, are you that attached to your morals and to your values that you can't get a little dirty, that you can't play a little dirty? Because the other side, they don't give not a single flipjack. Okay, they don't give a single one. They will destroy. They will make up lies. They don't care. They will perpetuate lies. They will do whatever it takes in order to maintain control. And so this whole sense of, well, we can't stoop to their level. Well, we need to do something, okay? Because what we're doing is not working and we keep losing. And Vivek is correct when he said, like we lost and, we're losing at the midterm. We lost the 2020 election. And we lost really big over this last midterm because the left has really just come over. Like, even like I'm in Virginia, right? I'm in Virginia, and they were able to flip our house to Democrats. So now we have a Democrat House and a Democrat Senate. We already had Democrat Senate, but we had a Republican House, and so we were able to at least have something going for us. But no, now we have a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and a Republican governor. And nothing's ever going to get accomplished with that. And so, and even last year, we were supposed to have the red wave that was supposed to come. It was like a red ripple. Like, it wasn't even, and it should have been. It should have been a red wave last year during the election, during the midterms. But it was barely a ripple. And it was just such an embarrassment. Then the previous night was, this current election was an embarrassment. Like, the law that was passed in Ohio, and you know, and then so it's like, so we're having all these losses, and then you take the third debate, which is again going to Vivek's point. We take the third debate and you bring in NBC to host a debate for a Republican primary. Like what? What is like what? Like what sense does that make? And they did an okay job. I'm not gonna sit here and criticize them as a moderator because they actually did do a pretty good job as moderators. But it's just the fact that like this network that has perpetuated lie after lie after lie over Trump, over, you know, even with other candidates, they perpetuate these lies, these narratives, and you're going to trust them with bringing questions that the Republican voters actually want to know. And again, I think like that's why we spent an hour on foreign policy. Like when most Republicans, like while it is an important issue, not saying like foreign policy is not important, why is that the first thing that we're getting to? Like why are we spending the first hour of the debate on foreign policy and not on what's happening in America? So yeah, I think Vivek was very spot on with his attack of the RNC because it's her job. Like you are the RNC chairwoman. You are over, you know, the Republican Party in a sense. Like, you know, it's your job to, you know, get the word out there. Like for the debate, you really could have had Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, you know, people who are not necessarily, because Joe Rogan isn't really a Republican, but he is very much a moderate in the middle, and he's fair, he's balanced, and he has a very really large audience. Like why would you not want to, you know, get those people who have a massive audience, bring them together in order to push that message of conservatism, push it out further, and let them hear, you know, from the candidates themselves what their values are, what their principles are. So I think he was spot on with that for sure. I want to move to another part of the debate, and I wish I had like the timestamps, but I don't. But I'm pretty sure it was still pretty early in the debate. Where, let me see.
And that we've allowed almost 100 hits to happen under Biden's watch is unthinkable. We need to understand.
Now our second and final question from Matthew Brooks of the Republican Jewish Coalition. Please watch.
Jewish students across the country are threatened and under attack. What do you say to Jewish students on college campuses who feel unsafe given the dramatic rise in anti-Semitism? And what do you say to university presidents and college presidents who have not met the moral clarity moment to forcefully condemn Hamas terrorism?
Mr. Ramaswamy, would you like to take that one?
Absolutely. I think the scourge of anti-Semitism across this country, including at places like my alma maters and places like Brooklyn Bridge in New York, it's sad to see, but here's what history teaches us. Anti-Semitism is a symptom of a deeper cancer in a country and a society that is lost, and we are lost. Several years ago, when I wrote my first book, Woke Inc., I was talking about they were chanting death to America. Death to white people, death to Christians. Nobody was waking up back then. Now it's even bad. Now they're saying death to Israel and worse. So it is wrong, but we have to get to the root cause here. Now, I think it's really important that we do this through leadership, not censorship. Leadership means fill that void with purpose and meaning. Dilute this wokeism and anti-Semitism to irrelevance. These kids, they have no idea what the heck they're even talking about when they're siding with Hamas over Israel. They are fools. But I also want to caution here, if we go the direction of Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, with whom I respectfully disagree on this issue, pro-censorship, telling student groups to disband, mark my words, soon they will say if you question a vaccine and its side effects, you're a bioterrorist. Soon they will say that if you show up at a school board meeting, you're a domestic terrorist. Soon if they say that J6 prisoners should be released, you're an insurrectionist terrorist. So that's where this road ends. We don't quash this with censorship because that creates a worse underbelly. We quell it through leadership by calling it out. These university administrators have lost their way, and we need leadership at the top in the United States of America that restores our founding values and that has no place for this kind of anti-Semitic hate. That's where I stand while respecting our Constitution.
Your time is up. Senator Scott, let me get you.
So I think that was a great answer from Vivek, and I wasn't planning on stopping at that point, but I think that was a really good response for him. And I do kind of want to get into the Israel versus Hamas conflict that's going on right now. I want to put that on hold because we'll get to that in a little bit. But I think that is a great answer. I think that, something that we have to remember as the conservative party is that, we tend to complain when things are done to us. And then when we have an opportunity, we're so quick to want to do those same things back to the other side. So, we complain about censorship, right? We complain about not being able to voice our opinions without being deplatformed, without being censored, without having fact checkers, underneath our posts and things of that nature. But it's, it we complain about those things, but then when we see another group of people or the other side who is, obviously misinformed, uninformed, don't know what they're talking about, spreading really disgusting rhetoric and and really, and this is why words are important, right? Words are really important, but this is actual anti-Semitism. I don't say that like lightly, but when you're showing support for a group that literally wants to annihilate the Jews, they want to annihilate them from the river to the sea, as they say, when you show support for a group like that, it's really hard not to call it anything but disgusting. But to censor these groups and to remove them from being able to have their voice, I mean, like, that's the same thing that we complain about on the right? Like, we complain about those things, and it's just like the key or the solution to to misinformation or to hate speech is not to take away their speech. It's more speech. It's calling these things out and saying, no, this is wrong, this is why it's wrong. And I think that kind of gets lost, and I think Vivek is really the only candidate that's on stage right now that really understands that message. But yeah, I want to actually, let's just skip to, because I want to get to some other topics. I have to go soon, so I want to get to some other topics. So I want to just get to the end where, let's see if I can find where he.
Stand, fighting wars that sent thousands of our sons and daughters, people my age, to die in wars.
To do at this moment, Governor DeSantis?
I would be telling Bibi, finish the job.
So the question is, Netanyahu right now in the wake of his conflict with Hamas.
Once and for all,
so
with these butchers,
over,
they're terrorists.
I'm going to skip over.
They're massacring innocent people.
They would this
Between you and the candidates we just heard on this issue, on what you would tell the prime minister?
Not in terms of what I would tell the prime minister, no. In fact, I would go one step further. The founding vision of Israel was based on the idea that they don't want to depend on anybody else's sympathy or direction in defending themselves. So what I would tell Bibi is that Israel has the right and the responsibility to defend itself. I would tell him to smoke those terrorists on his southern border, and then I'll tell him, as president of the United States, I'll be smoking the terrorists on our southern border. That's his responsibility. This is our responsibility. That's how we move forward. But I want to be careful to avoid making the mistakes from the neocon establishment of the past. Corrupt politicians in both parties spent trillions, killed millions, made billions for themselves in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, fighting.
Can we just acknowledge, like, that was a bar, okay? That was a bar. He said that these politicians have spent trillions, killed millions, and made billions for themselves. Okay? Can we just, that was a bar. That was a bar. He's absolutely correct. I think that's a message that I think gets lost within the party on this particular issue. I think that this is a rare occurrence where the Republican Party actually aligns with Joe Biden on something as far as showing support for Israel and just allowing them to defend themselves, not condemning them for defending themselves, and just showing our support for them. But I think where the president, where the administration and the party, where we kind of split ways on that issue, is whether or not America should be involved in that conflict. I do, or at least, the Republican voters, I'll say, not the Republican Party or the politicians in that party. I think that the administration, they want to send money, send funds to Ukraine, And I'm not necessarily against that, but it's just like when you look at America and we have so many problems here at home. It's just like, how are we even like talking about sending money to other countries? Like, it's just, and I understand that we do have a obligation to these countries, right? We do have that agreement with them, like we are in alliance with them. But it's just, we have so many issues going on at home. It just does not resonate with Republican voters, at least, and maybe some Democrats too. But it just does not resonate for us to be sending our resources over to them when we have so many things at home that need our attention. So yeah, that was a bar. That was just a bar from Vivek. Let's get back into it.
Wars that sent thousands of our sons and daughters, people my age, to die in wars that did not advance anyone's interests, adding $7 trillion to our national debt. And Joe Biden sold off our foreign policy. Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, got a $5 million bribe from Ukraine. That's why we're sending $200 billion back to that same country. The fact of the matter is the Republican Party is not that much better. You have the likes of Nikki Haley, who stepped down from her time at the UN. Bankrupt or in debt was her family. Then she becomes a military contractor. She joins the board of Boeing and otherwise, and is now a multimillionaire. So I think that that's wrong when Republicans do it or Democrats do it. That's the choice we face. Do you want a leader from a different generation who's going to put this country first? Or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
All right, Mr.
In which case, we've got two of them on stage tonight.
Ramaswamy, thank you.
I just wanted to hear that line again. That was just great. Like, do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels? Like, which is what she is. Like, that's what, like, that's literally what she is. Like, she's a warmonger, like he said. Like, she serves on the board for, defense contracts. So it's just like how she wants war because she makes money off of them. So it's like, it's easy for her to be like, oh, we need to defend these people. We need to send our resources here. But one, Nikki Haley, you never have to fight in any of these wars. And, you make money off of them. So it's easy for you to say that. But it's like, it's the people, it's the voters. It's our sons, it's our daughters, it's our sisters, our brothers, our cousins, our mothers, our fathers who are having to go and fight in these wars. And so that's one thing about the neocon, I guess, party, like the neocon establishment, is that like they're just so eager and ready to go to war, and it's just like the voters are not necessarily on board with that. And I think that Vivek resonates a lot with like the average voter. Nikki Haley, she resonates with the older generation of Republicans, the ones that are kind of like aging out. But yeah, I think he was absolutely correct, and I love this little dig at her and at DeSantis, which a lot of people didn't catch his dig at DeSantis, but he was saying that it's Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels. DeSantis has been, kind of like getting roasted for allegedly wearing heels, in his boots, whatever the case is. So I want to get to one last thing that Vivek did in the debate. This is these were his closing remarks, and then I will move on to Israel and Hamas. Let's see how the closing. Here we go.
This president, and I will make sure that I return honesty, integrity to the Oval Office. We deserve and should accept nothing less.
Governor, thank you very much. Let's go to Mr. Ramaswamy now. Your 1 minute.
We've talked a lot about foreign wars tonight, but we're in the middle of a war right here at home. It's a war not between black and white or Democrat and Republican. It's between those of us who believe in our founding ideals and love this country and a fringe minority who hates the United States of America. And I think it's going to take a commander-in-chief to lead us to victory in that war, who first of all knows that we're in a war. Second of all, can't be captured by the special interests along the way. But third is from the next generation, somebody with fresh legs to lead us to victory. I'll shut down the deep state. I'll declare economic independence from China. I'll keep us out of World War III, and then revive national pride in this country. I also want to close with one message to the Democrat Party. End this farce that Joe Biden is going to be your nominee. We know he's not even the president of the United States. He's a puppet for the managerial class. So have the guts to step up and be honest about who you're actually going to put up so we can have an honest debate. Biden should step aside, end his candidacy now so we can see whether it's Newsom or Michelle Obama or whoever else.
All right,
just
Mr.
tell us the
Ramaswamy,
truth so we can have an honest debate.
Ambassador.
Listen, Joe is a walking corpse, okay? Can we just put it out there? Can we all just acknowledge reality, please? Okay? Joe he's not there. He's not up here. It's gone. Whatever he had a few years ago, it's gone. If it's a disease, it may be dementia, whatever the case is, that is sad. I'm so sorry to him that that's happening, but he is not there. And we all see it. We all have to pretend like everything's fine, like he's fine. He's not. Okay. There we go. All right. So had a slight struggle stream going on. But yeah, like Joe Biden, he's just not there. And that's okay. Like, it's okay that he's not there, but can we just have an open discussion about it? Can we be honest about it? And I love that Vivek called this out on a national stage, on a national platform. They're gonna try to ignore it, act like it didn't happen, but I'm so glad that he called this out. And he's so right. Like, can we just call it out, call it for what it is, put forward whoever it is that y'all actually want to put forward. Let's just get on with it. Like, let's just get on with it. Move on from Joe Biden. He's not going to be the candidate. Even Kamala. No one wants Kamala, but if y'all want to throw her in there, then do it. But it's not going to be Joe. So can we just stop acting like it's going to be Joe? Please, 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 and thank you. So, anyways, okay. So that's all I'm going to cover from the GOP debate for now. Let me see. Let's go ahead. I have a hard stop in about 15 minutes. So do I want to get into the next topic, or do I want to just continue on with this? And maybe I'll go live again when I have a birthday dinner I have to get to. So I may just maybe do one more clip from the debate, and then maybe go live again later tonight when I get back, and we can cover the other topics from tonight. We were struggle streaming a little bit. I was running a little behind, and then we were struggle streaming, so it took us a while to get started, to get up into it. But once we got into it, it's going. So maybe we can go live again later tonight once I get back from dinner. Let's see. What was another good? Let's see. Let's cover a good moment from. Oh yeah. Let's get into this. Let's get into this right here, child. What was the question this was asked? The question was, I gotta play it to hear it.
Military is absolutely essential, as you understand. Article 5 would require to support and to defend NATO, our troops on the ground. The fastest way for us to eliminate that possibility is for us to destroy, to the extent possible, the Russian military. By doing so, we actually achieve the objective of keeping our military home. And that's good news.
Thank you, Senator Scott. Mr. Ramaswamy, are you persuaded by President Zelensky's urgent new plea?
Okay. So the question, so President Zelensky has kind of come out. So Ukraine is kind of like losing the territory that they were fighting for. But Zelensky has kind of come out and is still asking for support, and they're acting like, he's saying that, the U.S. needs to keep supporting us. Otherwise, things might go really bad for the U.S. and things along those lines. So this is Vivek's response to, is he persuaded by Zelensky's latest cry to America? So this is Vivek's response.
Where do you stand on more funding?
I'm absolutely unpersuaded. And I'm actually enjoying watching the Ukraine hawks quietly, delicately tiptoe back from their position as this thing has unwound into a disaster. The first half of this race, I was the only person standing for it. Now they're actually quietly coming around to being more cautious, as they should. Level with the American people here. Ukraine is not a paragon of democracy. This is a country that has banned 11 opposition parties. It has consolidated all media into one state TV media arm. That's not democratic. It has threatened not to hold elections this year unless the U.S. forks over more money. That is not democratic. It has celebrated a Nazi in its ranks, the comedian in cargo pants, a man called Zelensky, doing it in their own ranks. That is not democratic. More facts for you that you won't hear from the mainstream in either party or the mainstream media. The regions of Ukraine that are occupied by Russia right now, in the Donbass, Luhansk, Donetsk, these are Russian-speaking regions that have not even been part of Ukraine since 2014, that other people probably couldn't name those provinces for you. Those are the hard facts. And so to frame this as some kind of battle between good versus evil, don't buy it. And I'd like the likes of the sharpest of the war hawks on Ukraine, Nikki Haley, to have some accountability and answer. Do you want to use U.S. taxpayer money to fund the banning of Christians? That is actually what's happening. They're using the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. They have banned them. The Ukrainian parliament just did this last week, supported by our dollars. And I think you owe it to the American people, Nikki, to at least this one time
Ramaswamy,
condemn.
thank you. That's time.
At least
Mr.
condemn
Ramaswamy,
their
thank
banning
you.
of Christians.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
or else
thank
we're
you.
talking out of both sides
Mr. Ramaswamy, thank you. We asked the questions.
Thank you, Ramaswamy. We asked the questions like, oh, please, Mr. Ramaswamy, please stop attacking our God-sent angel, Nikki Haley. Please don't do it, Ramaswamy. Please don't do it. I thought that was great. That wasn't the clip I was thinking, but that was also just a great, because he had Nikki Haley. He had her feathers ruffled. Okay, had them ruffled throughout the debate, and I just thought it was because Nikki has come and surpassed him in the polls, and so I think his strategy, which was a good strategy, was to expose her and to attack her, because he needs to kind of come back and take the lead that he had a slight lead over her before, so I think he's trying to come back and take that lead that he once had over her, and get closer to DeSantis's level, as far as the polling. So I think his strategy was beautiful, and he clearly had her, like, look at her face right there. She is old. She is pissed. She is pissed. She is just really irritated. Okay. But yeah, she was ruffled. Let me go back to her face a little bit. Can I go back a little bit? Oh. Look at this. Like, look at her face. Look at her face. Look at this. Look at this. She was irritated. Okay. She was pissed off. And this is just the first time she got pissed off. Where do they talk about TikTok? I want them to talk about TikTok. I gotta find where they talk about TikTok again. Because she was teed. where was this? Because she was I'm trying to find where he brought up TikTok again.
We've talked about this. You campaign on TikTok. How do you get TikTok banned if you use it?
Well, I want to laugh at why Nikki Haley didn't answer your question, which was about looking at families in the eye. In the last debate, she made fun of me for actually joining TikTok while her own daughter was actually using the app for a long time. So you might want to take care of your family first.
Leave my daughter out of your voice.
Adult daughter. The next generation of Americans are using it. And that's actually the point. You have her supporters propping her up. That's fine. Here's the truth.
I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was incredible. But the media, they're going to pull their feminist jargon. Oh, how dare he talk about her daughter? How dare he bring her up? That is just so low. It's so beneath him. Listen, her daughter is 25 from what I saw. Her daughter is 25 years old. She's not a baby. And he was not. I think this is something that just irritates me about people in general. Like, people just tend to think that, like, just because a child is brought up in the conversation, that someone's talking about your child. It's like, no, he was speaking to you, Nikki Haley. He was speaking to you about your hypocrisy and how you're calling out other people for their use of TikTok when your own household, your own family is still using TikTok. So worry about yourself first. Get your house in order first. And then you can come and try to, scold me for using TikTok. But I'm not, and I understand the concerns with TikTok. I really, really do. I'm not saying like TikTok is not a concern. But at the same time, it's like you have to understand that the kids today are on TikTok. They're there. That's like saying like, oh, you shouldn't be on Instagram or you shouldn't be on Twitter. Like, it's like that's just where the kids are today. So, and you have to try to meet them where they are, right? Like, you want to bring these people into our party. You want to expose them to these conversations and to these values. How do you plan on doing that if you don't want to be in the space where they are? So I understand why Vivek is on TikTok. But I also understand the concern with being on the platform. But like you said, like, Haley, worry about your house, worry about your family, get them off TikTok first, and then maybe you can come and talk to me and scold me about my TikTok use. Okay, let's do that. So I thought that was a great moment for Vivek, but the media is gonna twist it as that was a low moment for Vivek, according to the media, even Fox News, and that just shows you like how just corrupt the establishment party really is. Like, it's just like even conservative mainstream platforms allegedly, like, even though they're still like, oh, Nikki Haley, she was such a strong woman. She is such a brave woman. She's so strong and independent and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, this is the problem with like feminists and like that type, is that they want to pretend like they can play ball with the men. Like, they want to, puff up their chest and, try to hang with the men. And they say like, oh, I want to be treated equally. I want to be treated just like a man would be treated. But then when they actually get treated like a man would, or when they get held to the same standard as a man, then all hell breaks loose. And now Vivek is like, oh, he's just so horrible. It's so misogynistic. It's so this and blah, blah, blah. When it's just like, he's not doing anything different from what he would do to a male candidate. Nikki Haley had no problem coming for him. She has no problem insulting him. She said that I get dumber every time I hear this man speak. And no one bats an eye. But as soon as a little bit of that fire is returned to her, now it's like, oh, it's the end of the world. And, he's scum. She called him scum for saying that. It's just like, okay, so do you want to be treated equally and fairly, or do you not want that? Like, which one is it? Because you can't have it both ways, where you get to use your woman card and use your feminist card for ratings and for views, but then when someone calls you, or when someone just plays into the role that you're a woman, now it's a problem. Like, which one is it? You can't have your cake and eat it too, Miss Haley. So I thought that was a great moment. I don't think Vivek had any low moments that night. I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he had any low moments that night. I think all of his moments were high moments, were good moments. I think he absolutely crushed, absolutely dominated the stage. He crushed all the candidates on stage. He destroyed the RNC. He destroyed the mainstream media. He was just like giving it to him left and right, just giving it, underhand. He was right hooking it, like just so he was just going for it, that debate. And I think that it really, really resonated. Like if you look at like the mainstream media polls, it will say, oh, Vivek Horde. He performed at like between like the middle to the bottom. There were reports that said Vivek performed the worst that night. And it's just like, it's just delusion. It's just delusion. Because there's just no way you watch the debate and you really came away saying Vivek lost that night. There's just no, you're just not living in reality if you thought that. Like, it was just such a clear distinction between him and the other candidates. And even if you don't agree with his policy, you don't have to agree with him, but just you have to be able to acknowledge that he dominated that stage that night. He completely dominated. There's no question about it. Even if you watch the debate, even like the other candidates, like they were looking at him while he was speaking, impressed by him on stage right next to him. They were impressed with him. So this idea that he lost, like he had all these low moments, is just a farce. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I think we'll leave it right there for right now. I'll probably come back later tonight and continue to go, and I'll go live again and discuss Israel and Hamas, because I do want to get to that. And then I want to talk about the border crisis, the migrant crisis, because I don't see many people talking about it, but it is making major news in the local areas. It's not really making big national news. I mean, it is because people know it's a problem, but it's not getting the coverage that it would get if it were a Republican in charge of these cities. So because like, these cities are left wing and they had already announced we'll be a sanctuary city and we want welcome these migrants in with open arms, and it's gonna be cotton candy and rainbows once they all get here. We can all just have a great time together. And they got here, and they are singing a much different tune now. The residents of these areas are singing a much different tune now, and they are not happy at all with what's happening with the migrants and how their tax-paying dollars are going to funding these migrants and supporting them. Like these migrants are living off of the taxpayers' money. So I want to get into that as well, but we can leave it there for now. I want to thank you guys for joining and for watching along with me as I just indulged in Vivek content. And I'm a huge fan. I've been a fan of Vivek since he announced. And I feel like he was very much unknown. I do think I was one of the first people to really notice him and pay attention. Like, ooh, like who is this guy? Like this guy is really, he's something. Like ever since he announced when he was first going on his podcast tour, I was like, oh, this guy is something serious. He's different. Like I haven't seen something like this in a long time. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing more from him and just seeing where else he goes throughout this election season. But we'll leave right there for now. I'll be back hopefully later tonight. I'm not sure yet. I'll let you guys know. But we'll be back. So peace out. Good night. See you guys later.